And we're back talking sports with Nooner and Forrest back on this lovely midweek of we are 2 weeks shy of spring break. Thank God. I don't know about you, Brad, but I really need a vacation. Even though you technically wouldn't be getting a vacation because your kids would be at home the entire time with you.
Yeah, that's very true. I will say this, it's been nice. I mean, spring break is coming up for you. It's coming up for Emily as well. Um, Gonna kind of take it easy that week. Don't have really any big plans, but that's okay. I mean, I think sometimes the best kind of breaks is when you don't have big plans. To be honest with you, uh, but I'm gonna take a little easy. Gonna take that Sunday following off. Actually, I take the 30th off for church too. But yeah, just I get you. Need a break. Yeah, I think a lot of people is asking for a break right now.
Yeah.
Um, Especially the teachers and administrators. I mean, you got March, you got April, and then a lot of schools, unfortunately, is going to have to go pretty much almost the full month of May because of
Hmm.
snow days and such. So it's gonna be a long 4 9 weeks for the teachers stuff. So my prayers for them on that. But baseball season's here now. Doing some umping for baseball. Did a game last week also for softball. So um, looking forward to that. Got another game tomorrow at Lakeside, and then another one and then a tournament at Poland on Saturday. So looking forward to umping those games. And then football season is around the corner, Ricky. They're starting to practice. I think Arkansas started their practices. They did, and of course, uh, but before you know it, we'll have football season be upon us again.
Yeah, and a lot of the schools are canceling their spring football, at least in the
They
colleges
are
anyway. They're
the
can't, they're
colleges.
can't. I think it's kind of dumb, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's dumb.
it's it.
Absolutely dumb.
Well, it's unfortunately again it's the NIL and transfer portal stuff, but I mean I see both sides of it. I mean, at the same time, I mean, I don't think it matters if you have a spring practice or not. If a team feels like you have a good player, they're going to poach them. They're going to try to poach them no matter what. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just how it is. But I mean, I can understand on the other side of it too. Well, if the least amount of film I give them, the more the least amount of exposure I get to give some of these players that might poach away from me that could play a key part in my season next year, or I might have to play a key part due to injuries or any sort of thing. So, I mean, I get both sides of it. It's very unfortunate, but that's now again, that's another thing we can blame and the transfer portal specifically for.
Um, I totally 1000% disagree with you. And the reason I disagree with you is for the simple fact is that 90% of these freaking colleges are on national television as it is. You could flip
And
your
that's what I was
television
trying to
set.
say.
You could flip your television set and go watch these guys. It's not necessarily them. Oh, we're gonna get film and all this other stuff.
That's
No,
what I was trying to say, Ricky.
they're going to see your guys throughout the entire season. So no, I don't understand any of it. Just for the simple fact is, oh, they're gonna steal my players. They're gonna do that anyway.
Well,
It's
I
just
that's what I was trying to say because I
I
see both
mean,
sides. I mean, they already got plenty of film for them, but I also see the side of coaches. Well, why do I want to give them more film? Especially if you had players that you redshirted last year, or you had players that you kind of, you didn't play much, but all of a sudden they show signs of flashes and that sort of thing. So again, the least amount of film you give them. I mean, again, I'm not saying I agree with the cancellations. All I'm saying is I understand it. I mean, again, I mean, they could turn on the television, yes, and they could still poach this player, they could poach that player. But a lot of the players that are being poached are usually players that didn't really have any significant playing time, but they could have significant playing time this coming season, or it could be a player that, what, if this guy gets injured, that guy gets injured, I could use this guy towards the end of the season because you know how injuries add up. So all I'm saying is, I just think injury. I just think coaches wants to get at least amount of exposure possible, and you also got to understand too. A lot of these practices are limited to media and different things like that too. So there's a lot of these practices during the spring and also during fall camp that's closed off to the media until after practice. So, I mean, I get it and I don't get it. I get both sides of it.
Yeah, well, I get one
You
side
do,
only, one side. That's it, just one.
and I get it.
Anyways, so yeah, like I said, a few things to discuss today. We'll get all to that here in a minute. So yeah, I am famously on TikTok and Facebook right now, I guess if you want to put it that way. Um, so there was a segment, Brad, that I did the other day. It was a podcast called The Intermission. Rich Rockwell, who is the ring announcer. Um, he's a ring announcer, but he's also he is one of three owners, I believe it is, in Vapors Championship Wrestling. And so one of the things he's done as of late, not just promoting, his wrestling product and everything like that, but Angry Patrick, who was formerly of The Edge, has his own podcast now, and Rich has basically he's been kind of partnering up with him a little bit, I guess, to do the podcasting and everything like that. And from my understanding, he was given, I think if the story was correct, if I don't want to the story wrong or anything like that, but from my understanding is that Patrick had told him, "Hey, why don't you do your own podcast?" And of course, Rich was, at first he's like, "Are you serious? Should I do it?" And then of course he's doing it. So the intermission, um, I think they're going to do it. I think it's going to be weekly. It's going to be on. I know it's going to be on YouTube. And there's a few other things that they share their podcast platform on, which is something we need to start doing. But we're just us, anyways. But there's a lot of things that they're going to be sharing their platform on. From my understanding, that episode alone, which was the premiere episode, so he texted me, I think it was Sunday night, and had told me that it already had 900 views. The entire episode already had 900 views as Sunday night. And then
Awesome.
there was a segment that I did with him. Of course, we talked a lot about wrestling, different stuff that was going on. He got into my retirement a little bit, got into why I got into it, how I got into it, things of that nature. One of the guys, I'm trying to remember the guy's name off the top of my head, and he's going to kill me for not remembering his name, but it's okay. Um, there was another guy that was on there. He is one of the voice announcers now for VCW. He is just now getting into the voice announcing for wrestling. He's done other stuff, but this is he's got a story in himself that if you listen to the podcast and everything like that, and so he's going to be getting involved quite a bit with it. But I was telling them, a lot of stuff, how I got into it and everything like that. He was, they were all both very extremely interested. And then there was that one segment that I had, about being the only referee, sometimes being the only referee, and sometimes, there are certain things that you start letting go, especially to let the product that's right there in front of you. And I was referring to a match, Brad, that I had just done the week prior. It was a tag team match, Ray Ivy and Triple J. And they were, I can't remember the guys who they were facing. It was the first time I'd ever seen them wrestle. And when I say it's probably, if it's not the best tag team match I've ever seen in my life, it was close. They did so much, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful match, and I worked my rear end off in that match. I was breathing so hard when I was done. I'm like, we gotta. Oh man, I was glad when that match was over with. But it was a great match. But I was referring to that match, and so y'all go check it out. That little segment that I have, the last I checked, there was between Facebook and TikTok, there's been over 1,100 views, which, that humbling,
Good.
that's a humbling experience right there. So I will go back on the podcast again soon. I don't know when. Um, I told Rich to let me get through spring break, let me get a breather, because like I said, I have been super busy. And so and then of course, for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to my retirement, I've been officiating wrestling for several years, and I'm hanging it up after September. And so I deep dive into that, and I deep. Like I say, it was a good podcast. It was a good show.
Very good. Very good. Glad to hear that and glad to it's getting some views and I watched a little bit of it. It's pretty good. So there you go.
That's good. That's good. All right, let's get to what we usually do. Whether you say we do it great or we don't do it well at all, I don't care. It's beautiful. It's a great day to be alive.
Got some students that like us.
Got some students that like us. They're ready for the next one. I could not. I'm telling you. So like for what? So now I have a new phone, so I'm having to do this crap all different now. So my episodes aren't up right now, which is terrible. I know I'm a terrible host or whatever you want to call it. I'm a terrible producer. Let's just put it that. I'm a terrible producer. We're gonna get this fixed up. to where this episode will be up. So just to run through the schedule. Um, so excuse me, we will have an episode, of course, today.
Yeah.
One of my favorite episodes to do of the year, and this is between both podcasts, which I have not done an ATFS show in forever. But between both podcasts, Selection Sunday is
Yeah,
probably
I like it. Mine
if it's
too.
if it's not my favorite, it's on up there. There's three episodes that are my favorite. Um, when we do Selection Sunday, when we pick conference champions as well as standings for the SEC for football. I love doing that. And then the NFL draft. I love doing the NFL draft because it's so much fun. It's one of the most fun episodes that you'll ever do. And so
I
maybe to
like
get
the
you.
season. I like the season previews personally myself. So
Oh, yes, yes, yes. The season preview.
yeah,
Because like I said, you want to see how close you're going to be at the end of the year. And usually we're
yeah,
wrong. So
yeah. There you go.
usually we're wrong. I can't remember who I picked to win the SEC this year, but I don't think it. No, I think I picked Texas, didn't I?
I thought you picked Tennessee.
I thought I don't remember. Like I said, it's been so far long. I have to start
Yeah,
keeping this up and everything like that. So
I think I picked Texas. You picked Tennessee. I think I might
maybe
have
I
picked
don't
wrong.
remember.
I can't remember
I
either.
know I didn't. I know I didn't pick Tennessee because they didn't have Herndon Hooker. Had they had Herndon
Oh,
Hooker?
wait a minute. Yeah, you might have picked Texas. I picked Georgia. That's what it is. I
Okay,
know we both
okay.
did pick Tennessee. It would make
So
sense.
then, but anyway, so yeah, that's so we will do that, and then other than that, let's get to it. So first thing is first. Of course, we all respect the podcasters. We all respect media. Respect anybody that really goes across any type of platform, whether it's like I said, whether it's a
Unless
podcast.
you're eating during a press conference.
No. Anyways, no. Why would you bring it up yet? There. Never mind. So anyway, so first things first. When I say respect the media, I think anybody with half a brain that listens to any kind of podcasting, that listens to any kind of media, listens to any platform, whatever the case may be, knows how talented the great Stephen A. Smith is. There is nobody in the world. I don't care who they are. There's nobody in the world that deserved that contract that he got with ESPN other than him. What an amazing job that he has done with First Take. And and you can tell the man works hard just by the way he talks, the way he approaches himself. Uh, he's got a great work ethic, but the contract is 5 years and it's $20 million a year, which is what he was seeking. I think he was seeking a little. Well, I think he was seeking a little more.
I think he's thinking 25, if I'm not
20
mistaken.
25 is what he was seeking, and they settled with 20. And so, which is great. And so, considering that, around the horn's going away, PTI is not going anywhere yet, but there's probably going to be speculation about the near future because Tony Wilbon, uh, not getting any
They're
younger.
older. Yeah, they're older.
They're not getting any younger. They're older, so we'll see. Maybe not this year, probably next year. I know May 23rd is going to be the last day for Horn. Um, and so for PTI, we'll see if that's in the near future, whatever it is. You still have Pat McAfee, who still does not do the numbers that First Take does, which surprises me. But he also has other platforms that he puts it on too
Yeah,
that's
I'm
able
honest.
to. But just strictly the ESPN network, First Take's been number one forever. And so
Right.
you got to end up paying him for number one. So anyway, so congratulations to that. And I know he makes a ton of money with his own podcast, so he's not hurting for money, and he does not take near the time off that he should. Um, he's definitely earned every other penny, but he's also in the news for other things. This is something I kind of want to touch base on. Um, so him and LeBron James approached Stephen A. Smith in the third quarter. Um, there, you could not tell exactly. There was no audio of what he was saying, but there was someone who was, I guess, was an expert at lip reading or something like that, and it was all about LeBron defending his son. Apparently, there was something about his son that he did not like that Stephen A. Smith said. And so now we're at this point now where you got power versus power. And I listen to Stephen A. Smith quite a bit. And I will say to the fullest extent, Stephen A. Smith has not said anything that's not true, and he has not said anything that has been derogatory toward either personality or any of them as a person. only when it comes to the basketball court, and that's how he usually is. Now, unless someone like personally attacks him, he's usually pretty cool when it comes to stuff like that. But he also went on the Gilbert Arenas podcast, kind of went in on a little bit what happened, and so one of the things he was upset about was that LeBron just didn't call him up or just say, "Hey, don't go anywhere. I'd like to talk to you privately." No, he made it in front of in front of God and everybody, uh, that he was not happy. So I'm just going to sit here and state for the record that I'm going to sit here and I will defend Stephen A. Smith because I know what he's talking about. What LeBron's referring to. It's referring back to over a month ago. Whole experiment with Bronny James coming into the NBA and having that two-way deal with the G League, whatever the case may be, all of that. And Stephen A. basically said, "Look, Bronny James is not ready for the NBA. He's not ready for the NBA." And he basically said, "Stop this experiment. Let him go get development, whatever the case may be." And LeBron James didn't take time. So I'm here to state for the record, Stephen A. Smith is right. Bronny James is not ready. We knew when he got drafted he wasn't ready. And I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm sick to death of hearing about it. I'm sick of LeBron James. I'm ready for him to get out of the NBA. The NBA game is completely garbage right now. He's done nothing to make it better. So if they want to call me out on a nothing nobody that lives down here in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, call me out on it because I'm sick and tired of hearing about it. I'm sick of him. I'm sick of Aaron Rodgers in the NFL. Hope nobody picks him up. I'm tired of him as well. Him and LeBron James to me are like one and the same almost, with the exception that LeBron's actually he's won more championships in his respective sport than what Aaron Rodgers has. He actually cares about the game of basketball versus Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he cares anymore. But the whole general sense of the thing is that um, when you are in a position like LeBron is, or when you are in a position to basically be the face of the NBA, which, by the way, under his watch has crap and it's gone downhill ever since, at least in the last 5, 6 years, has gone completely downhill. You are subject to
Yeah.
criticism. Just like me as a basketball coach, I'm subject to criticism. Right? If there's something that somebody,
As a pastor, I am.
as a pastor, you're subject to criticism. We are all subject to criticism, especially when you're put in a position like we are.
Yeah.
Like, I am subject to criticism. If people have something they want to say to my face, we'll talk one on one. I don't care. But the whole point is you as an umpire, as a former referee, which I still referee football, but as officials, we're subject to criticism. And you just got to find a way to get better. You just got to find a way to take it and you got to get better. You can defend yourself the entire day, but at the end of the day, it's like whenever you are, it's like you've got to learn how to take it. First of all, Bronny James is a grown man now. I understand that LeBron's a father. You and I are fathers. We're going to protect our kids until the day that we die. That's just how we are. We're parents. All right. But when it comes to certain situations like this one, you have no say so. You have no power. If that were the case, Stephen A. Smith would have been fired from ESPN years ago. But he has no power. He has no authority. He has no say so. So just shut your mouth, man, or just talk to him one on one. You have to come out in front of the media and the entire world like that. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm tired of LeBron. Get him out of the league. Sick of it. Go retire. I don't care.
No, I was going to say I 100% agree with you because I actually heard the response Stephen A. Smith had on First Take the day after. That clip was on YouTube. The problem is LeBron made the whole thing public. He
The
made he made
whole thing.
he
He
made the whole thing
created
public.
this situation. He
He
created
created
the
set
entire
for
situation.
Yeah, I agree. He created a whole thing for his son. He created this disaster for his son. Unfortunately, he said that he wanted his son to play with him, and then, of course, in the second round of the NBA draft, the Lakers could have done something totally different, but no, they want to fulfill LeBron's wish. They drafted Bronny when he should have never even been drafted. Should have
No.
never been drafted. And I know Bronny's been through a lot himself, and
Mhm.
kudos for him, but he's not NBA ready. And and I get it as a father, you don't want your son criticized, or you when your child is criticized for something, you just feel that itch inside. But you also got to understand, you created that. You created that, not Stephen A.
Can
Smith. You created that.
and real quick, I don't mean to interrupt, but let me state something for the record real quick. 'Cause I'm glad you brought that up. I'm so glad you brought that up. So a while back, Shelby played a ball game that, first of all, the time she was 3 years old, and even until now, her as a basketball player, the first thing that the one thing I've always told her, you work hard individually. You earn your playing time for what you do individually and what you do with your team. Don't come to me if you're not getting playing time. You go to your coach, you find out what you need to do to get better. I've always done that with her. From the time she was 3 up until now. I have never once as a parent, never once have I gone to any of their coaches and said anything but, "Hi, how are you?" And then there was a time or two that her coach is like, "Hey, if you see an official that I know or whatever it is, 'cause she's had a couple of questions about some calls and everything like that that she has, some rules, things like that. Fine, great, fine, dandy. But as far as that goes, I don't get involved
Yeah.
with my daughter's coach on that certain basis because there's a fine line. My job as a parent is to support whatever she wants to do, but she is subject to criticism for the way that she plays on the court by her coach. And if her coach says that, hey, you're not doing what you're supposed to, you're going to sit the bench, guess what daddy's going to do? He's going to
Mm.
sit back and he's just going to watch the rest of the ball game, whether his daughter plays or not. Just so the simple fact is that it's up to the coach whether she plays or not.
Right.
If she's not ready, that's on her. That's on her as a player. She has
Mm.
to get herself ready. So I want to state that for the record, for the simple because that's just how I am. I've always been like that.
Yeah, and that's with anything, even with academics and even like that, the only thing I've
Yeah,
ever gotten involved with was one time a teacher, there was an assignment that Paisley had, and she told me that she was working alone with it, and I just kind of asked the teacher. I said, "Well, why she's working alone?" And the teacher explained to me, I just want to get a better understanding what the assignment was and what she wanted from Paisley, that sort of thing. And I was fine. That's all I asked. And if that's something you do, I think there's no
no, no, there's
wrong
nothing
with
wrong with
that.
that.
Gonna criticize. Yeah, I don't think there's no, but again, I don't think you should criticize anybody because you're not there. You just try to talk, you just try to communicate, and you just try to get a better understanding, whether it's athletics, academics, whatever it may be. You just try to get a better understanding from the other party and try to come up with a solution that way. Now, if they're being treated unfair, that's a totally different
That's a
subject.
totally
And
different thing.
yeah, that's totally different. And then because again, that's totally different. You address it differently. But in going back to LeBron and this, it's like what you talk about. He made this a public thing, and Stephen A.
Exactly.
Smith, as a media member, a member of the media, was doing what he is supposed to do: report. And I will agree with you on this, Ricky. He is only one of the few journalists that still actually does reporting. That's
Yeah,
a lost art in sports these days, is actual reporting. All you get really now is opinions, different this, different that. And of course, Stephen A. shares opinions. Of course he does. But a lot of these shows you see is a lot of opinion pieces. And I'll be honest with you. I don't watch much ESPN anymore. I mean, I do some, and I do occasionally. I'll catch the clips. I'll watch more shows like the Rich Eisen show. I like the Rich Eisen show. I like the Dan Patrick show. Couple shows I'll catch on because I grew up with Rich Eisen, I grew up with Dan Patrick, but they're reporters. Now they have an opinion, obviously, but they still have the art of reporting the sports news, and that's why I like people like Rich Eisen, and I like Dan Patrick, and I respect Stephen A. Smith for sure, but the problem is I just can't stand the other people that's on First Take all the time to really get into it. So that's why I don't really watch First Take. I'll listen to
yeah.
Stephen A. I'll listen to his podcast. I'll even listen to his politics because he's kind of a middle road guy, and he's mentioned to about running for president to Jimmy Kimmel, which right now, if you look at Democrat polls for 2028 for the election, he's at 3%. Some people say, well, 3% ain't very good. But when you really haven't even said you're going to run, you haven't even you're like kind of the outsider, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. So I mean, remember Trump? Trump was kind of at that level back in 2016 when he, or 2015 when he thought about running and eventually decided to run. So again, anything could happen, but I just think I am sick of LeBron too. I'm with you, Ricky. I'm sick of LeBron. I can't watch the NBA anymore. I just can't. I cannot do it.
Mm-mm.
I'm sick of LeBron. The last 5 or 6 years has been terrible with him being the face of the league. You could almost question even if he was that his greatness is even, I mean, he's a good athlete. He's a great athlete, probably the greatest, one of the great athletes we've ever had in the game. But as far as a player, I mean, again, this debate with Jordan, people say, well, Jordan well, Jordan didn't play with the athletes like LeBron did. Yes, he did. Look at the athletes he played with. But anyway, that's a whole different debate for a whole different time.
Yeah.
But I will say that. But LeBron brought this to himself. He brought this on to his son. He brought this on, period. And he has nobody else to blame but himself. And like I said, I'm tired of LeBron. I think it's going to be a great day when he decides to retire. I
It will
mean,
be. I'm going to
uh,
celebrate.
yeah, the basketball. I mean, basketball is terrible. I mean, it's just. I mean, like I said, it's a big unwatchable game, and they wonder why ratings are down. They wonder why this is happening, and that's a. It's a very unwatched game because a lot LeBron has. I hate to say it, turned it into, and and unfortunately, he's also influenced a generation of players, and this, that, and the other. I mean, you got I'll give you another example. This is off the top of LeBron, but you got Angel Reese on her podcast threatening to strike because if they don't get more money. Well, the WNBA lost $40 million last year with Caitlin Clark. And they still lost $40 million. And you're going to strike? If I was an owner, bye bye. I'm pulling my financial support. I
I
mean,
mean,
good lord. I mean, you lost $40 million, and that's the type of attitude like LeBron has and has portrayed on players and other people that they just feel entitled to this. And LeBron's been entitled his whole entire career from forming the super team with the Miami Heat to forming, of course, he went back to Cleveland, then going to the Lakers, and just all of these different things, and what makes it so, and what makes even ESPN unwatchable sometimes is all you get is LeBron news, LeBron news, LeBron. I'm just sick of it, just
yeah.
absolutely sick of it. I'm tired of it. Ready for him to go. Ready for LeBron to be out of the NBA and retire.
So the biggest argument that I've heard about this generation of players, why people think that LeBron's greater, is because the skill level that these players are compared to what they were in the 90s. And I'll give them that much. There are more skill level players now than what there used to be. However, there used to be a thing called specialist, and the specialist made the game great. It wasn't because you didn't have 5 men shooting 3 pointers left and right. You had 5 men going in there, busting their rear ends off, getting
The
rebounds, and
physicality,
the
there's no physicality.
physicality of the game, which don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and say that some of the physicality didn't need to go away. That's not what I'm saying. But what
Right.
I am saying is this: the players back in the day, there's one thing that they had that these players today for sure does not have: physical toughness, mental toughness, and the fundamental
I was
aspects
gonna
of
say
the game.
fundamentals.
So
There's no fundamentals.
when you take that away, and I'm not going to tell you who it was, but I saw a couple of state tournament games over the weekend. We went up to we were at Green County Tech Friday. Your boys, Green County Tech. Which by the way, that was awesome. I ain't gonna lie to you. I got to tell you about something later. Anyways, so and so I'm not going to tell you which games it was, but we saw a game. We saw 2 or 3 games Friday, and then we saw 3 games on Saturday. And 2 of those games had zero defense whatsoever. It was pathetic. And it's a lot. It was just an offensive showdown, like it was a lower NBA game. And I'm dead serious when I say that. It's just because. And I'm not saying that these teams aren't great, but I wanted to see defense, and we didn't see much defense from these teams. And so so that's what I'm saying. Is like all of this talk, and then that you get this down, like you said, this entitlement, and it's rained down. My one of my junior high coach who's still alive, and my high school coach who passed away 4 years ago. Both of them said the same thing when we were in school. Watch the college games more than the NBA games. The
Yep.
college games are going
Yep.
to reflect you more than what the NBA games will. And as we've seen over the years, the NBA has influenced us more than it ever has, and you can tell just by the product that's on the basketball court in today's game in the NBA. College basketball has not gone up, but we will actually, when I'm telling you right now, there is a team, Brad, that I'm telling you is could be on a potential upset alert. SEC, all because statistically they're not winning the championship, and I will put money on it right now. Alabama will not win the NCAA tournament. I'll put money on it right now.
Hmm. That's
If I
interesting.
if I had any money, I would put money on it if I had any money.
Yeah, I'm
We'll
not
get
gonna
to that.
reveal.
We'll get to that selection Sunday. Why
Sunday.
that
Yeah.
selection Sunday?
Yeah.
I ain't revealing that right now. No, that's the cool
Yeah, I'm
stuff
not
for later.
revealing mine either. I'm just going, "Oh, okay." But yeah, I haven't watched many high school games, but I can see that. And I was told the same thing too about basketball. If you're gonna reflect, watch the college game. And to me, Ricky, I still like to see fundamentals. I like to see defense. I mean, I like to see good, tough defense. I mean, I like to see some offense too. I like to see the spectacular plays. I like to see all that. But I
Mhm.
also like seeing some good, tough defense. I mean, I get motivated by good, tough defense just as much as I do with the offense as well. So I'm just, I mean, to me, Ricky, there's no way games should be like 140 to 139. I mean, that's why you're seeing the NBA today.
In 5 overtimes, maybe.
Yeah, maybe 5 overtimes, but you say that in a regular 48-minute game. And they're talking about shortening the game. Are you kidding me? They're talking about shortening the game. And I don't know, Ricky. I just think, you know, I just like good, tough defense. I mean, that's a thing about Jordan's era compared to LeBron. You can even say that about Magic and Bird in their era compared to LeBron too. Again, the skill set's not the same. I agree with that. However, you had fundamentals, you had defense. I mean, Larry Bird could shoot just about everybody that plays in the league today out of the gym,
Yep.
except for maybe Stephon, but that'll be a good matchup there. But Larry Bird could do that easily. I mean, and Magic, he had the wherewithal to not just be a shooter, but to pass, and that's what made him a great player. The fundamentals, and Michael was about the fundamental. And they say, oh, he can't drive left. Well, you know what? I actually saw a highlight the other day. Guess what? Michael was driving. He was driving on his left side. So don't tell me he can't drive left. So again, you had defense, you had physicality, they were mentally tougher. You didn't have this thing called load management or anything like that. And and the players took criticism. I mean, the players took criticism. Now they might fight back and say some things. Charles Barkley, I remember him, and he still does to this day. You gotta love it. I mean, Shaquille O'Neal would do the same. I mean, no, remember the Kobe and Shaquille used to be in front page media all the time with their fights and stuff, but it was competitiveness. They were competitors. They both wanted to be, and that's another thing too. It really seems like the competitiveness of some of these players is just not there anymore. I mean,
It's going away.
it's going away. I mean, it's just like, oh, might as well just give everybody a trophy. But I mean, and I love what Michael said. I love what Michael said when LeBron went to play for with Bosch and Wade. He said, Michael said this: I didn't want to play with Bird or Magic. I wanted to beat their, you know what? I wanted to beat them. He said I could have probably joined Bird and Magic, and we could have had a super team ourselves. After all, they didn't have a salary cap. I don't think back in those days, or if it was not it was a soft salary cap. But the thing about it is, you know, Michael could have done the same thing, but he said, "I didn't want to do that. I want to beat those guys." And Bird and Magic was the same way. They wanted to beat each other, not because they like each other, because they had respect for the other player. And I think that's another thing too: the lack of respect. They had Bird respected Magic because he knew he was good, but he still wanted to beat him because he wanted to be better than Magic. And Magic wanted the same thing with Bird, and Michael wanted to beat those guys because he wanted to be better. He wanted to win championships. I just don't think that's the focus anymore. The focus now is about money, and it's made the game terrible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I was checking a few things while you were talking, so I wasn't ignoring you or anything like that,
Are
but
you
it
good?
was,
No,
and so, yeah, anyway, yeah, you're absolutely right.
I gotta
There's a
get a
lot.
sip of
There's
my
a lot.
soda.
You're so,
Get a sip of my soda.
I missed, man. He was a great teacher.
Well,
Let's
let me
see.
drop this margin again. Oh, let me drop it one more time.
Oh, gosh. Shout out to Dr. Steve McMahon. What a great guy.
Yeah,
Hopefully he's doing well. I think he's still at Williams. I need to check that
yeah,
out, see if he's
I think so. I think he is. I believe he is.
Speaking of which, the Williams Baptist women, I think they play Mobile in the first round
Yes,
of
they're
Mobile.
nine seed.
And I think they play Friday, the 14th. Is that
I believe so.
correct?
I
I'd have to
believe
look.
so.
I'd have to look and see. So hopefully they'll make a miracle run because I would love to see them do well in the NIA tournament. The AFC conference, it's not very it's not a very prestigious conference according to the
No, it's not.
NIA. And so
Well, I
hopefully,
mean, Williams finished with a 28-4 record, and they get a
and
9 seed. And so, I mean,
shoot, it's
that's pretty
amazing.
much that's pretty much like Drake, who is 29-3, and they're probably projected right now to be a 10 seed or something. They're in the
Well,
Missouri Valley.
if you remember correctly, when Eric Newell was at Williams and he started getting a lot of success, that's when he started getting a lot of phone calls.
I
So I'm
remember.
wondering when the season's over if we could see Mayberry, because remember Eric Newell went from NIA to an NCAA Division II school, and now he's coaching softball at Troy University. He had a great year last year. They didn't make the tournament, but he still had a great season for a first season. So I'm wondering if um, Mayberry might get a phone call from a D2 school. You may be seeing Mayberry elsewhere. Maybe, I don't know. He may be a lifer at Williams. I don't know, but he's been there forever. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But let's say we will definitely see. All right. Speaking of which, so Arkansas got their revenge on South Carolina. If that's what you call blowing a 17-point lead and barely hanging on to win.
20-point lead with 17 minutes left in the second half. So, yeah.
Okay, see, I didn't know. I knew it was a 17-point lead at the half, and then I checked it, and
But you know
we had
what? You
been one.
see here, Ricky, when I start watching the Razorbacks, this is what I've seen this year so far. So I'll be just listening on the radio, and I'm like, oh, the Razorbacks up 17. I'll just start watching it on TV. All of a sudden, the other team starts making a run. So I really
That's
don't want to watch. So I really don't want to watch the Razorback games because it seems like every time I turn on the TV, the other team starts making a run and makes it like a game that you're all of a sudden your anxiety's up on. And I mean,
yeah.
so I'm just like maybe Forrest doesn't need to watch any Razorback games, and maybe they win the national title.
So right now, this is on the bubble code of Jordan Lenardi.
Yeah,
Uh, he has Arkansas in the last four buys, which I believe he has Arkansas as a 10 seed. I'll look at that here in a minute.
yes, he
Uh,
does.
Baylor, Arkansas, Utah State, San Diego State, the last four buys. The last four in is Oklahoma, Indiana, Xavier, and North Carolina. He moved Texas to the first four out after losing to Vanderbilt, and he moved Ohio
They beat
State to the first
Vanderbilt.
four. Texas lost. Oh no, my bad, my bad. They did beat Vanderbilt today. I'm sorry, but I think Texas was on the next four out. Now they're the first four out. I think that's
The
what it
first four
was.
out, right?
And then Ohio State has been moved to the first four out. They were the last four in until today when they lost in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. Which
To Iowa.
yeah, yes, and I think Ohio State. Their huge thing. Of course, I've been looking at some of the quad one wins, the quad two win. I've been looking at some of the. I've been looking at some of them, and so Ohio State. Let me see if I can find them real quick. Ohio State was 6-11 in quad one. They were 3-3 in quad two, and they didn't have any quad three or quad four losses. That was their big. That was their big. Um, that was their big go-to when it came to being in the NCAA tournament. And so when you look at North Carolina, let me see if I can find North Carolina.
They
Indiana.
have 0 quad one wins. North Carolina does.
So Indiana is 4-12, which means they've played 16 quad one wins. They don't have a quad two, quad three, or quad four loss. So that just tells you how tough their schedule has been. Now, North Carolina, like you said, I don't think they had a quad one win, but yes, I'm sorry, they have one quad one win. And I'll look it up who it is.
Yeah,
They're 1-11 in quad one wins.
yeah, that's
So
what it is.
and so I'm sorry, yeah, 7-0 quad two. They're 6-1. They have that one quad three loss. So I don't know how this is going to play out. I really do not. But Brad, I'm just going, and I hate to even say this because North Carolina. If I look at North Carolina's record is 21-12, and the ACC is not as prominent as what it was. Ohio State is 17-15. So I don't know how you defend putting Ohio State over North Carolina, even though North Carolina only has one quad one win. I don't know how you defend that, but if I was someone on the committee, that would be an argument right there because Ohio State has more quad one wins and they don't have a single loss in 2, 3, and 4. So and I know they're 17-15, but it makes me wonder. Boise State, Colorado State round out the first four out, and then the next four out is Dayton, Wake Forest, UC Irvin, and Cincinnati.
So, let's go with Arkansas first. Jerry Palm from CBS Sports, his bracketology, he also has Arkansas as a 10 seed in one of the last four buys as well. Um, Arkansas had to avoid a loss today to be sweating for an NCAA tournament bid. If they had lost, I think they still would be in, but I think Arkansas would probably be sweating a little bit because they probably would fall probably to the last four in instead of the last four buys with a loss to South Carolina. So take care of business against South Carolina. I think now they're for sure a lock. I think Sunday, Selection Sunday, I think you're going to see Arkansas has won the last four buys still. They could still fall into that the last four in category, but I think they're a lock. I don't think they're going to go anywhere unless you see some craziness in the conference tournaments and you get teams that are not supposed to be in the tournament all of a sudden win the tournament and they get automatic bids. That's when you might see Arkansas slide down. But I think Arkansas is a lock for the NCAA tournament. Uh, Right now, you don't want to see Arkansas in the last four in because Arkansas has a 7-man rotation right now. I think that's all they got. 7 healthy players. But anyway, but if they beat Ole Miss, I think they probably slide out of that last four bye list, and they probably are and you're not have to even worry about even that. So I think a win against Ole Miss, which would be another quad one win, I believe. And
Yep.
again, I think you would see Arkansas slide up a little bit more. And of course, you beat Auburn. I mean, of course, you're going to be in as well, but that's going to be a very difficult task. But to play 3 games in 3 days with 7 players, but again, no, you never know. So I think
Yeah.
Arkansas, but I do think Arkansas is a definite lock. I think 100% we're in. So I want to say that now.
So looking at their resume, their net ranking is 39. They're 6-9 in quad one wins. They're 2-3 in quad two, and they haven't lost a quad three or quad four game. And I think that's the one reason why you see them in the last four buys and not completely out of the tournament. Because had they had a quad three or a quad four loss, you're probably looking at them going to the outside looking in. Their strength of schedule was 20. Their non-conference strength of schedule was pretty high. I mean, it's 180. It's pretty low. But their strength of schedule being number 20, I think really helps out a lot. You look at North Carolina, 40th in the net ranking, which is one below one below Arkansas. Um, 1-11 in quad one. They're 7-0 in quad two, 6-1 in quad three. Their strength of schedule was 43, and their non-conference was 5. So I kind of get why their net ranking is a little high, but to me, I don't see that 1-11 being as prominent as Arkansas. I just don't see North Carolina. If North Carolina's going to get in, they're going to be the last four in. But it wouldn't surprise me either if somehow the committee says, all right, let's look at Ohio State. Ohio State's schedule, their strength of schedule was much tougher than North Carolina's. Ohio State's was 17th in the country versus 43 for Ohio State. I'm sorry, versus 43 for North Carolina. They have 5 more quad one wins than what North Carolina does. 0 quad three, quad four losses. So to me, I also, even at a 17-15 record, to I could see Ohio State getting that nudge in and let North Carolina be an out. That's just me. I could be wrong, but I'm just saying in general, it would not surprise me one bit.
I think North Carolina gets the edge because of strength of schedule. I remember years ago in the selection committee,
Well,
there was a
Brad, there's the strength of schedule is not as high as Ohio State.
was how Ohio State strength of schedule.
Ohio State strength of schedule 17. North Carolina's was 43rd.
I thought you said there's a what they're number 5 in.
The number 5 was the non-conference schedule.
Okay, well, that's probably the reason why. Because I'll tell you why. I think also no reason why Arkansas has won the last 4 buys too is because of the SEC's non-conference record against other conferences. If you look at the SEC's record against other conferences, I think it's like an unbelievable number. I think they like won 81% of their games against other
Yeah,
non-conference opponents. So that's the biggest. I think that's also the
they
biggest
all.
reason why.
I think every one of them, including South Carolina, had double-digit wins until they started playing in conference.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, South Carolina beat Clemson at Clemson.
Yep, at Clemson.
Hey, yeah, beat them.
They were
I
the
mean,
and they were the worst team in the SEC statistically. I
exactly.
mean, as far as the record wise and go and everything like that. Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, so it's not like South Carolina's like one of those pushover teams that finished 12 and 20. Like you look at their record, like oh my god, South Carolina stunk. No, they didn't really stink. They just played a tougher conference, than the SEC's ever been. But go back. But I think Arkansas is a lock. But and I think there could be an argument for Ohio State over North Carolina. But if North Carolina makes a run the ACC tournament, they're going to be in. I mean that's just a big deal
Yep,
about it.
yep, yep. 'Cause that'll be quite a one
I mean
wins
if they
for them.
beat teams like yeah, so if they beat teams like Clemson, Louisville, which shout out to Louisville. You know what? You want to talk about a team that made a turnaround this year? I mean, the
In
Louisville
Louisville.
Cardinals. I mean, good gracious. They had 25 wins total the last 3 years, and they
Yep.
got 25 wins. So shout out to that group of guys. But anyway, I just think, and also shout out to Lipscomb, a Church of Christ school, and Arkansas played earlier in the season. They're going to the NCAA tournament too. And shout out to the Arkansas State women, which they're going to the women's NCAA tournament. So shout out to them as well. But anyway, I just think Arkansas, but I think Arkansas's in. Um, Now, who's going to be number 1 seeds? That's going to be interesting going forward. Right now, I think Florida's lock is like the 4th number 1 seed. But I would say if Florida's going to keep the number 1 seed, they're going to have to make a deep run the SEC tournament because the problem will be is if Michigan State, let's get Michigan State for example, if they win the Big Ten and win the Big Ten tournament, uh, Michigan State's probably going to have a stronger argument than Florida will with that. Tennessee, they probably could still be a number 1 seed with their strength of schedule if they with their record strength of schedule if they win the SEC. I would say Auburn's probably a lock of a number 1 seed.
Yeah,
Even if
they're
they
locked
lose,
regardless.
yeah, regardless, they might not get the number 1 overall seed, but they're at least a lock for a number 1 seed. Um, so that'll be an interesting storyline too. Of course, other teams are going to be playing for seeding. I think that's where Arkansas is now. They're going to be playing for seeding in the tournament. Uh, it'll be interesting because one of the matchups that I've seen Arkansas playing is playing St. John's in the second round. A
Yeah,
possibility.
and I've seen possibility, of course, first round possibilities. I've seen BYU and I've seen Louisville. I
Yeah.
would not want to play either one of those. Brad, I'm just going to be
Yeah.
honest with you. This is not a tournament team. This is not a strong tournament
No,
team
it's not.
whatsoever. They're losing in the first round. I don't care they're playing. I'm not going to pick them to lose in the first round. I'm just being honest because they're not consistent enough. And here's the thing that I will give Cal credit for. He had 0 players on the roster when he took the job.
I think
Because,
this is sorry to interrupt, but I think this is the finest coaching job that John Calipari's ever done.
and
Period.
I will agree to that. I think some people argue his UMass years, but at the same time,
Yeah,
it's
Marcus
a little
can be.
exactly, and he's dealing with a different era right now. So yeah, you could pick on that one. So let's see what he can build on, with this program. Now that he's got about to have a year underneath his belt, but we're not very good. This Arkansas team is not very good.
No, it's not very good.
They're not very good. But the conference, however, when you have a conference that's stacked against you like it was, when you start 0-5 in conference and you find a way to come back and win 8 of your last 13 games, something to say for right there. So I can't, I can't argue with that. And so,
No.
what terrific job that he has done. But yes, you are right though. Um, but I think the one seed that really needs to look out for is Houston, because
Yeah.
Houston is the only number 1 seed right now with a quad 2 loss, and their strength of schedule is 23rd. There are 3 teams above them with their strength of schedule, the way it is, and 2 of those teams don't have a quad 2 loss. That's Alabama and Tennessee. So Houston could be having an issue, even if even even because even losing out, even though they'll be 27-5 losing out, or if they it were to lose to Colorado, let's say, that could be probability, especially if Alabama or Tennessee makes a run in the SEC tournament. You could have 3 SEC teams in the number 1 spot right now. So
Yeah.
that's
It's
oh my
amazing.
gosh.
It's amazing, and, yeah, Houston needs to watch out, but I will say this about Houston, though, um, them being the Big 12 champion will carry some weight to that.
It will.
Yeah, I mean, so they kinda lean towards champions when it comes to 1 seed, so but we'll see, but I just think but going back to Calipari, I just think this is the finest job I think he's ever done. I know he's rebuilt programs. I mean, he rebuilt UMass when it was down and, into a powerhouse when he was there. I know he rebuilt Memphis when it was down to a powerhouse. He came to Kentucky when it was down and made it, of course, Kentucky again. And of course, no, with this Arkansas team, though, but here's the difference with this Arkansas team. He had no, like I say, he had no players. It is a different era, and he had injuries. You can pretty much say his 2 best players went down with injuries. And they're playing with 7 players right now. 7. That's it.
Yep.
I mean, and he's able to win the 8 of his last 13 games. Of course, he didn't have 7 players off, but he pulled out a win against Mississippi State. He pulled out a win at Vandy. He pulls out a win today at South Carolina with 7 players. I mean, it's an amazing job that he has done, and and to be honest with you, I know Bruce Pearl won the Coach of the Year, and this might seem biased, but if I had to vote for Coach of the Year, it's John Calipari. I mean, to
Yeah.
me, it's John Calipari. I mean, I know Kentucky fans, which they're obsessed with Arkansas, they just can't get Calipari out of their minds, but they would say Mark Pope, and he's done a tremendous job. Don't get me wrong, he's done a tremendous job at Kentucky. I'm going to give him his kudos, but what Calipari had to do with Arkansas, he would have my vote for Coach of the Year. That's just my opinion.
Well, tell them how it is, Brad. Tell them how it is. But there is
That's right.
something that we did not do a good job of, and that's predict high school basketball state champions. Even though some of the teams that we did pick are still in the championship game.
Farmington and County
Oh
Tech still
gosh.
in.
Yeah, they're still in. They're still in definitely. And so, all right,
For the
Brad. So
girls.
exactly. So, all right, Brad. So I will be there Friday, and I will be there a little bit on Saturday to watch the state championship games. Looking forward to this. Um, this year, they've kind of done things a little bit different. Of course, they start with the girls, boys, everything like that. So, for those of you who are interested, they will start these matchups on Thursday. The 2A girls, 2A boys, 3A girls, and 3A boys will play Thursday. 4A, 5A will play Friday, and then 6A and Class A will follow up, and they will close out this year's state tournament games. Planning on being the 5A and 6A games. Not sure if I want to stay and watch the Class A that night. Um, it just depends. So,
Well, Thursday I will be in Hot Springs for a game at Lakeside, and then Friday I will not be anywhere in town. I'm taking Paisley to Winter Jam, so that's where I'll be Friday night.
oh yeah, winter jam should be pretty good.
Yeah.
Winter Jam should be pretty good. All right, so we are going to predict the state champions. So first off, we have West Side Class A girls. West Side against Earl. This is how they got. This is how they got there. West Side was number 1 in the region 2. Earl was number 2. West Side had beaten Earl. Let me look at their schedule real quick, Brad. West Side has 40 wins on the season, Brad. They are 40-3 overall. Earl is 29-7. I've seen Earl. I think it might have been England that I saw. I can't remember who. I thought it was Earl that I saw. Um, I can't remember, but I'm going to read off the losses that West Side's had. Are you ready for this one? The Nettleton girls. Let me look at this again just to make sure. All right, so here's their losses. Are you ready for this? They lost to Pulaski Academy by 4 points. Pulaski for a girls state championship. They lost to Nettleton by a point. Nettleton was in the Class 5A state tournament. They got beat in the second round. I believe it was the second round. It may have been the first. They did lose by 20 to North Little Rock, who's a pretty good 7A girls team. That's it. They've beaten everybody else. The last time they played Earl, they lost by 7. I am sticking with Westside. I think they get 41 wins, and I think they get a state title with this.
Let me ask you a question real quick, Ricky. I'm curious about your answer on this. Do you think it's harder to win a state title at a smaller school compared to a bigger school?
It depends because typically the bigger schools usually have to compete with more athletes because the bigger schools do. I mean, let's just put it this way. Springdale has to play Bryant. That's a pretty good tough
Yeah,
matchup right
yeah.
there. However, when it comes to small basketball and you're playing against another smaller school, I don't know. I think winning smaller schools might be a little bit harder than winning at bigger schools because a
I
lot
you
of
know, and I had this argument. This is why I asked this. I had this argument with a guy the other day, and I kind of went with the smaller schools. And I get it. I went to a bigger school. I went to a 5A school, and yes, you do compete with some great athletes in these bigger schools and different and that sort of thing. However, I think the process to getting to the state tournament alone, you got to win your you got to win your district. You have a district tournament. Then also you also have a regional tournament because if you have an off night regional tournament, you lose the first round, you're done for the season. And then, oh, by the way, you got the state tournament, to go through as well. I just think, the process, getting there to
getting
me.
there is probably getting there could be a little more difficult with the small schools. It used to be even more difficult, especially back when there's 5 classifications. There were so many schools in Class
Yeah,
A and Class
I remember
2A.
that.
For so many of us, for regionals, you had to get to the finals of your regional
I
just to even
remember
make
that.
state.
Yeah, yeah,
And there was only 2 seeds. There wasn't 4 seeds, and
right.
there were the same amount of state tournament teams, but it was so much harder to get to
I
back
remember. Yeah, I
then.
remember that. Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I would almost have to agree that the smaller schools it's harder to win a state championship in the smaller schools because if you goof up in, let's say you goof up, let me think here. You can actually like even with the 5A and 6A, they go by your conference record. They don't have regionals. They go by your conference record. Whatever you finish in conference
right.
is the way you're seated. The only other conference that I know that does that in the smaller classifications is 4A Region 8. They take the top 4 that go to regionals. Like you can be an over team in your conference. Excuse me, you can be an over team in your conference and still make a state tournament just by making a run in district and regional. So, like I said,
Yeah,
the smaller schools, in my opinion, probably a little bit tougher. So,
yeah.
who is your pick on the girls?
I'm going to pick with West Side too. I kind of looked this up as well. I agree with everything you said. I think I might give a shout out to Earl. Earl making the run they did to get to the state championship. I think it's pretty cool. Been through Earl many times. It's a city that it would be nice if Earl got a state championship. To be honest with
It
you,
would be nice.
but I do think West Side will take care of business. But yeah, give me West Side over Earl as well.
All right, next up we got Martree boys and Earl boys. Earl boys are also in the state championship. They will play the exact same day. They will close out the state tournament this coming Saturday. This is both teams. Martree was number 1 in their region from the regional tournament. Earl ended up getting number 3. These two teams, I believe, are in the same conference.
I believe
Brad,
so too.
did you know Martree has not lost to Earl once, but twice, and they've beaten Earl once. Give me
Give me Mark.
Earl for the state championship.
I like it. I'll take Mark Tree.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I picked Mark Tree to win it. So
I think I did too, but I don't remember. I don't even. I love you, Mark Tree. I really do. But man, I don't remember.
And
I don't.
an amazing coach at Mark Tree too. She, uh, uh, so
That
definitely
is
gonna be,
true. That is true.
yeah,
I did forget about that. You know what? Give me Mark Tree.
yeah,
Got to root for her. Got to root for her.
and I believe she's an Arkansas Sports Hall of Famer too. So shout out to that as well.
I think she is too. I think she is too. So all right. So me and you were completely wrong about 2A. You picked Cutter Morningstar. Cutter Morningstar got beat in the semis by Barton, so I'm assuming you're going to pick Barton. Barton will face Izard County. Barton was first in their region. So was Izard County. These two teams right now. Barton is 37-1 on the season. Izard County is 31-4. Barton's only loss, Brad. Let's see who Barton's only loss was. I'm trying to pull it up real quick. Let's see here. Barton's only loss was to 4A Stuttgart in a Christmas tournament. That is their only loss on the season, Brad. They have mercy ruled a ton of schools. I'm looking at this. They've mercy ruled a ton of them. Izard County, let's see here. Izard County, of course, they lost only one conference game. They're 31-4 overall. Their 4 losses. They lost to Highland by 7. They lost to Sloan Hendricks by 7. They lost to Sloan Hendricks twice. I'm sorry. They lost to Harding Academy by 3, who I think got beat in the second round. I'd have to look it up and see. And their wins of margin are not very high, but they do score the ball quite a bit. Give me Barton. I'm going to take Barton over Izard County.
Yeah, gave me Barton too. Although Izard County's had a great season, and again, another area of the state will be nice to win a state championship, but also too with Barton as well, because I'm kind of familiar with the Barton area and the Barton schools because of my time in Mariana. So give me Barton over Izard County.
Next up is the 2A boys. Two teams that you and I are very, very familiar with, at least the areas that we're familiar with. Tuckerman, who is the 3 seed in Region 2. East Poinsett County, who's the 4th seed in Region 2. Brad, all 4 teams from Region 2 who were in the, from Region 2, all 4 teams who made the state tournament from that region were in the semifinals against each other. East EPC beat Cedar Ridge by a point. Tuckerman beat Izard County. Tuckerman beat Izard County by 8. These two teams are very familiar with each other. East Poinsett County is 25-8 overall. Tuckerman is 28-16. They have played each other. Let's see here. I'm trying to look here and see when
Tuckerman's
they
28
played.
16.
They're 28-16. They are
They have
28 and
played a
16.
ton of basketball.
That's a ton of basketball, but that's what happens when you don't have football. So
That's true.
EPC Tuckerman beat EPC by 4 on the first, which I think that was the only time they've played each other so far. So this is a rematch. They did not play each other except for that one time, and that was why Tuckerman ended up getting the 3 seed to begin with. So Brad, I'm tempted to pick EPC on this one. Rematches, it's hard to beat somebody twice. Real hard to beat somebody twice. And just by overlooking on some of the matchups they've had, yeah, I really, really like, even though I like the conference, um, even though I like the conference Tuckerman plays in a little bit more, and I will never root against any of these schools. I'm picking EPC.
I will root against Tuckerman because I got a ticket at Tuckerman a few years back, many years ago. So I'm going to pick EPC because of the ticket at Tuckerman. I don't care any of the Tuckerman people are listening. I hope they are. I'm still mad about that ticket. Thank you very much. So yes, EPC over Tuckerman.
That's awesome. All right, moving over
That's
to
my
3.
rant for tonight.
Moving over to 3A girls basketball. This is Lamar, who I think was my pick for 3A. The Lamar and Dover, both teams are first in
I
their
picked
respect.
Dover. I picked
Both
Dover.
teams, both teams are respective in their respective regions. Lamar has an overall record of 35-2. The Dover Pirates, Brad, are 34-0. They have not lost a game. There is a possibility we could see one of 2 undefeated teams when all this is said and done, and that's including Pulaski Academy. Lamar's losses, what I say, Lamar's 35. Lamar has 2 losses. They lost to a team called Brock, which is outside of Arkansas. I don't know exactly
Yeah,
where Brock is.
Missouri.
And then they lost to Springdale Harbor girls in a tournament by 9. So these girls are. This is probably going to one of the best 3A girls state championships we've ever seen in the state of Arkansas. At least I hope. At least I hope it is. I'm trying to see if they've played anybody similar, but I'm not seeing anybody that they've actually played similar, Brad.
So I'm going to stick with Dover because I picked them. So I got to stick
Okay.
with Dover. And of course, they're in the same conference as Jacksonville. So there you go. Stick with the home pick. So Dover over Lamar.
Just because you said that, I'm going Lamar.
Why not? Why not? Go ahead.
Oh, goodness
Okay,
gracious, you're
baby,
killing
you got a ticket Dover too. I hope they give you a ticket when you ever drive through Dover.
me. All right, the 3A boys, we got Melbourne and OCL. Brad, it's going to be Melbourne. Melbourne's pretty good, Brad.
Yeah, I picked
OCL,
Melbourne.
OCL is not bad either. I'm not going through their records. I'm picking Melbourne.
Yeah, I'm going through Melbourne too. I picked Melbourne at the beginning, so
Did you? Okay, then. Okay, then.
yeah, I did
Good
pick
for you.
Melbourne.
Good for you. All right. So let's see. 4A girls, I know who this one's going to be. It's Pulaski Academy again and DeQueen. Both of these girls will tip it off. Let's see here. What's today? These girls play Friday at noon. Oh gosh, I wish I was at this ball game. This ball game is going to be one heck of a ball game. Pulaski Academy 36-0. Underneath Becky Yarborough, who is going to be in the Hall of Fame one day when she does decide to finally hang it up. DeQueen is 34-1 overall. Brad, DeQueen's only loss actually came in conference play, and I think it was to Nashville, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look at their schedule and see. Yes, it was. It was to Nashville
That's a
by
rivalry
by
game.
yeah, by 15 points. They beat. Here's the thing: they lost at Nashville by 15, but then they beat them at home by 20. So it's kind of a neck and neck type of deal. Pulaski Academy beat Nashville 20, no problem, and they had no issues. They had no issues in that ball game. I'm sticking with Pulaski Academy. I really like Becky a lot. She's one heck of a coach, Hall of Fame. Nothing against DeQueen. I really hope DeQueen. Yeah, no, that they're going to be good. This was the matchup I was looking forward to. I will probably I will do my best. I'm gonna keep this because I know it's at noon, so I get to watch a little bit during lunch. So I'm gonna keep my phone around to where I can look at the score and actually watch it. But I'm gonna pick Pulaski Academy. I think they get the job done.
Yeah, I'll pick Pulaski Academy too. I think I might pick the Queen actually to win it, but I'll pick Pulaski Academy as well. I just think they'll be too much for the Queen. But hats off to the Queen though. Again, being in the Texarkana area, having some familiarity with the Queen from my time there. Um, yeah, I mean, good school, good people there, but Pulaski Academy gets it done.
All right, moving on to 4A boys, we got Mills and we have Morrilton. Both these teams are pretty good. Mills has one loss on the season. Um, Morrilton has 8 losses on the season. Shout out to them. One of the losses that they had was against us. We did end up beating them earlier in the season. Morrilton has played Mills. They lost to Mills. Let me look here and see here. Trying to figure out where this is. Here we go. They lost to Mills by 12 in the regional finals back on March the 1st. That's the only time those two teams have met up. In the tournament, Morrilton has beaten Westside, Darnell, and Magnolia to get here. Magnolia, of course, beat them earlier in the year in a tournament. Excuse me, but I think Mills is going to be a little bit too much. A great run from Morrilton. Morrilton had that player who had a car accident, who died in a car accident here a while back. Their best player is related to the Templetons that you and I are very familiar with us going to Williams. But it just, to me, and like I said, I'm pulling for Morrilton to win this game. I think Mills is too much. I think Mills is a little bit more athletic, and they're actually, to me, they're a little more physical than Morrilton is. I'm going to take Mills for the state championship.
You might not have done well in this state tournament, but I have done very well because I picked Mills to win. I'll pick Mills to win this one.
Yeah, you
Just like your Dallas Cowboys can't pick good winning teams.
you,
So
you
there
leave
you
my
go.
Dallas Cowboys alone. All right, here we go. 5A
Oh,
ranked.
how's free agency going, by the way?
We're not going to talk about
Anyway,
free agency.
anyway,
All right, here we
just
go.
want just want to ask that.
5A girls, your favorite school, Greene County Tech against Farmington. Farmington's 31 and I'm sorry, Greene County Tech is 31 and 2. Farmington is 29 and 1. The two losses Greene County Tech has on the season was not in conference play. They're both non-conference. They lost at Springdale by 14, and then they lost at Mount Home by 19. The one loss that Farmington has, I believe, was Idabel. Let me see here. Let me make sure I'm right about that. Let me make sure that no, a school called Webb. A school called Webb. This was in a
And that's up
tournament.
towards Joplin.
Yes, yes, and this was a tournament in Tennessee. Is when they lost that game. So other than that, they have not lost to an Arkansas team entire year. They got past a very good Valonia team in the semifinals, who I did watch play before. This team beat Benton by 46 points, Brad. My former coach. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that. But anyway, my former coach who's coaching the Benton girls. Uh, I know who you're picking. I picked Greene County Tech at the beginning. I'm changing my pick. I'm going Farmington now. Farmington has one of the best athletes. Farmington, from my understanding, Farmington has a girl, Brad, say that she is the Caitlin Clark of high school basketball. They say she's that good. And I'm hoping, I think, so we're going that evening. So we're leaving school. We're going to the tournament that evening. That's the first game we're going to get to watch. I cannot wait to see this game, but give me Farmington.
Give me Greene County Tech.
You're out of your mind, man. You were
Give me
out of
Greene
your mind.
County. Give me
There's no
Greene
way.
County Tech.
You know,
You know why I'm going to
I'm
go
putting
Greene
you on.
County Tech?
I'm putting you on mute. You're going on mute the rest of this day.
Number one.
You're going on mute.
No,
This is
number one.
ridiculous. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Your exact words last week were, and I quote, I cannot pick them. I cannot pick Greene County Tech. You will not see me pick Greene County Tech to win. Those were your words.
And that's why I'm going with Farmington. I'm just kidding.
You just did that to watch me go get
Exactly.
off.
See, I did you go on a rant. Yeah, Farmington. Of course, I'm not going to pick Greene County Tech. It's like you picking Jacksonville. You never picked Jacksonville, so I'm not picking Greene County Tech.
If it made sense, I would pick Jacksonville. But I told you were out of your mind, and I can tell you that you're out of your mind again.
But my pick for the championship is in. So there you go, Melbourne.
Nah, goodness gracious. All right, 5A boys, Benton against Maumelle. Brad, I've seen both these teams play several times. Benton, I've seen play more than Maumelle. Maumelle's made a great run. Brad, Benton is just so good for a 5A school. They have so many studs. It's not even funny. Maumelle could make it interesting for the simple fact that they could shoot shoot the ball very well. They did beat Bryant earlier in the year, but Bryant did not have their best player. There's a few players they had out. No, so like I said, they were not as they were not as prominent, but they also lost to Bryant a second time. Still, the best player was still out when they lost to him. Benton actually beat Bryant without their best players and without Bryant's best players. That's how good they are. And see here, they also Maumelle has also has good win against Morrilton early in the year. Let's see here, they beat Northside, which they're not very good. Conway, they got a win at Harbor. Harbor's pretty good, Brad. But when you look at Benton, I just don't think they're going to have to shoot the ball well. Benton's got a better length than what they have. They're taller, they're stronger. I'm going to take Benton state championship.
Yeah, I think I picked. Well, I picked Farmington, by the way, for the girls too. When Farmington, so we both had that. Well, no, you had Greene County Tech. I forgot, but you switched your pick.
I
But
did.
anyway, for the big guys, yeah, I'm the same way. Benton's just gonna be too much. Benton over more. Maumelle, I'm sorry, Maumelle.
All right. Last but not least, the 6A girls. You've got Fayetteville and Northside for the 6A girls. Brad, this has been probably in the 6A girls in a state tournament. This has been one of the weirdest tournaments I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Or the simple fact is that the 1 and 2 seeds were out in the second round. All 1 and 2 seeds were out. You had a 3 seed, you had 2 3 seeds, a 4 and a 5 in the semifinals. Northside came back to beat Bentonville. Bentonville's girls I thought were going to pull it off, but Northside ended up back and winning. And Fayetteville ended up beating North Little Rock in the semifinals. Fayetteville has played some great basketball in this tournament. Of course, both these teams are in the same conference. They are in the same conference with each other. So if you look at Northside against Fayetteville this season, and this is the one thing, Brad, that I'll share with here in just a second. Conference records are unbelievable on how close, on how wicked. So Northside against Fayetteville this year, they beat Fayetteville at home by 11, and then they also beat Fayetteville on the road. So they've actually beaten Fayetteville twice. Second time they beat them, they only beat them by 5. So now you're going back to a neutral court. They've struggled, Brad. They've really struggled shooting the ball in the tournament. Fayetteville's playing their best ball. Give me Fayetteville. And just to
Yeah,
follow up, what I was saying a while ago, as far as the standings go, the conference standings go, Brad, you ready for this?
yeah,
Springdale won the conference at 14-2. Northside ended up winning because of the point system for the 2 seed, but the 2 and the 3 seed were 13-3. 4 and the 5 was 4 and the 5 were 10-6 respectively. Of course, the 6 seed, they have a 6 seed that gets in, which shouldn't get in at 5-11. Got in at 5-11. That was Bentonville West. But the top 5 seeds, Brad, any one of those five could have done.
yeah. Give me Fayetteville too. I think Fayetteville. Yeah, I have kept up a little bit with it. Fayetteville is playing much better. Give me Fayetteville over Northside.
All right, and then last but not least, a big game that I cannot wait to see. This is a game that like I said, I can't wait to see this game. This game is going to be very, very good, Brad. You got Springdale that's 29-3, and Bright that's 22-9. There's something I got to tell you about Springdale here in a little bit, because Springdale's going through a little rough patch right now, and I'm not going to say it over the air or anything like that, but there's a lot of things going on. So, Brad, one of the things about Whitehall that I love about being at Whitehall and our head coach, Matt Williams, we had a very, very hard schedule this year. And there are 4 teams that are in the state championship, and Springdale is one of them. We played Springdale earlier in the year, and they beat the crap out of us. They beat us by 35. But the fact that we did play them, we played them, and then we ended up playing. We played Morrilton. We beat Morrilton. We lost to Mills, and then who's the other? Oh, Benton, and then, of course Benton was in our conference. So the fact that we were able to do that was amazing. That we were able to do that. So Springdale's 3 losses. They lost to Geyer which was a tournament over in Duncanville High School. They did lose to Benton. They lost to Benton on a technical foul, Brad, in the last second. Springdale had a kid. Of course, Springdale's best player was out for the game, and they did lose by a point. This one kid who hardly ever plays, Brad, makes a 3-pointer, does some kind of gesture, and I can't remember what the gesture was, but it didn't look like it was illegal, and he got a technical foul for it, and Benton ended up winning by a point. So that was kind of one of those controversial moments and everything like that. So I'm just saying in general, that's just, they
Yeah,
did
it
lose to
is.
Marion. They lost to Marion when Marion started getting hot. They haven't lost since. They've taken care of business. They've taken care of their rivals, which is Springdale Harbor, which is right across the way from them. They beat Harbor. They did beat Harbor twice. They have not lost since that time. Bryant, on the other hand, Bryant is pretty athletic. They don't have as much length as Springdale. They can shoot the ball really well, though, Brad. But here's why I'm picking Springdale. Springdale plays much better defense than what Bryant does, and I really believe that Bryant's best player, who is super good, by the way, Brad, super good. I think he's going to shoot him out of the game. I'm taking Springdale to win the state championship.
I think Springdale as well. They beat Jonesboro, if I'm not mistaken, in the
They did.
semifinals,
They did.
which
We
Jones
watched it.
which Jonesboro was my pick to win it all this year.
Yeah, you were nuts,
To
by the way.
repeat. Uh, Hey, they made it to the semifinals. I mean, good gracious. But no, they had a chance to
They
repeat.
had a weak bracket.
And so what? They still had a chance to repeat. But anyway, I'm
Still
picking
had a weak
Springdale to
bracket.
win it. Don't matter. Don't
It
matter.
does matter.
It does
They
not
had
matter.
Brad. They played
Sometimes
Fayetteville. They
it
played
doesn't
Fayetteville.
matter. It
Fayetteville's
doesn't
not near
matter.
as good as what they've been.
Here's the thing, Ricky. Sometimes there are teams that gets weak brackets and they end up winning it all. I mean that has happened in tournaments
That's very,
before. But
that's
I
very
mean,
true.
so I will pick Springdale, and I do think they do have a little bit more defense than Bryant. I think that's why
See,
they'll win.
and that's the one thing with Jonesboro that I will give them credit for. They brought the defense that game. They didn't outmatch them offense, but defensively they brought it to Springdale that night. But Springdale could have broken away much quicker than what they did. Didn't have the greatest game, but like I said, there's a lot going on in Springdale right now. And whenever we're done with this, I'll tell you about it. But anyways, um, but that is all that we have for the state tournament. So now let's do our DAs of the week real quick. Brad, I think I've got two.
I got a few. My first DA of the week goes to the Big Sky Conference and their logo and their so so for the tournament for the so we know that March is March Madness and that sort of thing. They have decided that for their advertisement, they're calling it Starch Madness because because the tournament is being played in Idaho. Number one, why the heck's the tournament being played in Idaho? Number two, I don't like well, I like potatoes, but you know what? I don't care that you call it starch madness. That's absolutely ridiculous. First day of the week goes to Big Sky Conference. I don't know what they're thinking. It's just stupid, absolutely dumb.
Oh my gosh. So Brad, I read up something. Did you watch the Arkansas game today?
I did not. I listened on the radio. I did get a chance
So
to.
I read something up that they put on the board the 2024 team when Eric Musselman was still coaching. I read something up on that they accidentally put last year's team on the board instead of this year's team on the board whenever they did the video introductions or whatever it is. So if that's true, SEC tournament DA of the week, first DA of the week right there. You can't put last year's team on. Eric Musselman is thousands of miles away from when the SEC tournament's being held at. All right, he's down in Southern California, USC. Come on, people, we got to get straightened up here. First day of the week, the SEC tournament.
My second day of the week goes to the British Prime Minister. Apparently, he is criticized for blocking a bill to ban marriages that involves first cousins. I don't know if Britain's turned into Arkansas or not, but I mean, you can't make this crap up again.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, apparently he blocked a bill that would ban first cousin marriages. And he said, quote, he is of course against first cousin marriages, but apparently you can marry your first cousin in Britain. So second day of the week goes to the British Prime Minister in Britain, that whole weird thing over the ocean.
So, Brad, before I share the second DA of the week, is this one's my final one, by the way. I just want to point out something. Um, I'm not going to be critical. I'm going to try not to be critical here, but it's just so funny. Okay, UAPB baseball, they're absolutely terrible. They're absolutely horrible, Brad. They always have. They've been terrible for a while.
Who is it?
All right,
UAPB. Okay, yeah, okay, I got you.
UAPB baseball.
Yes, they are horrible.
So I thought this was an old post. So I looked it up. So they posted on Facebook and social media, first win in the books. And I'm looking at today's date. It's March the 12th. And I know that baseball season's been going on for quite a while. So I had to research it myself. And no, it is absolutely true. They just won their first game against UALR last night. They're 1-15. They're posting first win in the books after losing the first 15 games. Now, I want to say this much, okay? Because here's as funny as this is, I also have to commend their new coach. They have a brand new coach this year. I hope he does wonders with this team. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. I hope he does wonders with this team. Congratulations on your first win at UAPB. That is a huge deal. For winning at UAPB is going to be hopefully he's going to able to bring some livelihood into that program there at Torrey Hunter Field. So, like I said, even though it's absolutely hilarious that UAPB would post that after going 1-15, I do commend you, Coach, and I hope and wish you nothing but the best of luck at UAPB.
Well, I do have another DA, but we have to discuss that outside of
That's
this
fine. We'll
because
discuss
it
it
involves
outside.
a
We can't.
baseball game last night. But anyway, my third DA of the week goes to the Serbian lawmakers, the opposition party who threw
Oh my gosh! Here
who
is
throwing
what
smoke
time out,
the great.
time out, time out, time out, time out. Before you move on, You talk more. 90% of your DAs are politics, man. 90% of them are
I
politics.
hate
And you
that's
get a full,
stupid.
get a full without any kind of full.
I got one more. It doesn't involve politics, but I
Okay,
have
keep going.
to. I have to because apparently the opposition party to block a bill decided to throw grenades, smoke grenades, and tear gas. Uh, they're, they're their meeting in Parliament.
Oh my
Again,
gosh, this is
I mean,
great.
I know our State of the Union address wasn't that great, but I guess at least we're not throwing tear gas and smoke grenades and that sort of thing from the opposition party. So my third DA of the week does go to the Serbian government opposition. Again, I'm just calling it like it is. I mean, if you're a DA, if you're government, you're not government, you're a DA. My final DA of the week goes to this guy here posing a picture with his wife. He's supposed to have a half Missouri, half Kentucky shirt, but he somehow spelled Miss Sucky on his
Oh
shirt.
my gosh,
While
that
he's
is
posing a
awesome.
picture
Miss
with his wife,
Sucky. Oh
Miss
my
Sucky.
gosh.
It's
Oh my
caught
god.
on national TV as well. So, yeah, uh, pretty bad there, Miss Sucky. But so my last day of the week goes to the half Kentucky Missouri fan for the shirt saying Miss Sucky.
That's DA Hall of Fame right there, man. That's not DA of the week. That's DA Hall of Fame right there, man. Oh my
Exactly,
gosh.
Miss Sucky,
I hope he's not divorced by now. Oh my gosh.
Miss Sucky,
Okay,
Miss Sucky.
Brad, we get it. We get it. We get it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Boys and girls, that's it. We're done. I can't do this no more. I'm gonna pass out. I'm gonna have a heart attack or something. I don't know. It's gonna be something big because I
So we
can't
we
take it no
learned,
more.
boys and girls, we learned tonight that Britain, you can marry your first cousin.
No, no, that's not what we're doing here, man. No, we're not teaching the kids to be first cousins.
I'm
All
not
right,
trying to,
we live in Arkansas. Anything can happen.
but that's my point.
Oh gosh. Anyway, we're done. No more days of the week. We're done. We already know that. And remember, boys and girls, as long as the human race is in existence,
There will always be DAs.
there are always, yeah, that's right. There will always be days. I'm done. I can't take this no more. I'm so done.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. I gotta go. Good night, everybody. Thank y'all for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button on, excuse me, hit the like button for us there on Facebook. Follow us on Facebook. Also, hit the subscribe button. One more thing before we head out. We check out we will have an ESPN tournament page again this year. Want to put your bracket in there with us. My students are listening to this. We are also going to do bonus points brackets this year. I've done this every year with my students. I'm gonna have a first, second, third, whatever kind of place. That's gonna we're gonna do something fun with it. So hopefully we will get a lot of people involved in that. So until then, good night, everybody.
And make sure to watch the spelling of your shirts.
We're not watching the spelling of our shirts. You watch the spelling of your shirt. You understand? What you need is a Paragold Green County Tech little deal. I don't know, Perry Tech or something like that. That Perry Tech. That's going to be your
Very tag.
shirt. I'm making you a shirt that's supporting both teams.